Black Lives Matter is imploding as violence surges out of control in Democrat-ruined cities. In this video, we're going to take a look at precisely what BLM has in fact accomplished over the last 6 weeks since it surged to the mainstream, and we're going to see why more and more mayors are beginning to reject the movement as they come to terms with the violence and the destruction that BLM has left in its wake. You're not going to want to miss this. Greetings, everyone, patriots all across the globe. Dr. Steve here with you. Great to be with you as always. If you're new to this channel, we analyze current events, analyze some super awesome conservative trends so you can live in the present in light of even better things to come. So if you haven't already done so, you know what to do. Make sure to smack that subscribe button. It'd be an absolute privilege to have you as a regular part of this channel where each and every day we get to celebrate, yes, the inevitable collapse of left-wing globalism and the unstoppable rise of a new conservative age. Before we dive right in here, I want to give a huge shout out to the Trump Train 2020 Facebook group. They're an absolutely amazing group of folks, nearly 1 million of them. If you're on Facebook, you're definitely going to want to be a part of that group. They're absolutely awesome. I'll make sure to leave a link down below for you to check them out. And finally, there's just one more day left, 24 hours left for you to enter to get a 1-year free Turley Talks Insiders Club membership. We're offering this as part of our official launch of our brand new Turley Talks podcast. So this is in response to the frequent requests that we've been getting from you. Many of you asked if we can get these videos in podcast form, and now you've got it. Your wish is our command. Now you can listen anywhere and at any time with our special podcast editions. I would be so grateful if you'd be so kind as to share the link down below with others who you think would enjoy these podcasts on nationalism and populism and traditionalism. It'll be wonderful for the both of us, both for me and for them. And if you click on the link below and download our new podcast by July 8th, that's tomorrow. If you click on the link below by then, you'll be entered to win one of my book bundles, and you'll get a free Turley Talks Insiders Club membership for an entire year. So you don't want to wait on this one. Just 24 hours left. Click on that link below and enjoy our brand new podcast specials and get entered into our free giveaways today. All right, gang, let's dive right in here. Look, you know, with the tragic death of George Floyd several weeks back, Black Lives Matter went from being a rather obscure and extremist movement and all of a sudden just, vaulted right into the mainstream of our society, literally overnight. I mean, BLM slogans were found everywhere. You can go to Amazon without being reminded that Black Lives Matter. Workout channels on YouTube were suddenly posting pro-Black Lives Matter messages on their community boards. Big tech and social media affirmed their solidarity with the movement. The National Football League promised to play what's called the Black National Anthem before their football games. But perhaps most shameless of all, the left-wing activists disguised as journalists at CNN and MSNBC lectured us night after night that the riots and lootings and burnings and killings weren't really all that. Instead, they were all expressions of what is at its heart a truly peaceful and moral movement to end systemic racism and inequities and usher in a new era of social justice. Well, here we are now, several weeks after BLM was welcomed with open arms into the heart of our public square. The Democrats cheering, kneeling down, believing they found their new messianic movement that would catapult them to power. And what do we have to show for it? Let's think this one through, shall we? It's been nearly 6 weeks since George Floyd's killing and the sudden rise of BLM. And what do we have to show for it? Well, we certainly have had a lot of destruction, have we not? I mean, if anything, the BLM movement has been busy knocking down our historic monuments in a manner that frankly doesn't seem to be making any sense. I don't know if you caught this. Take this example. A statue of the black abolitionist activist. Yes, you heard that right. A statue of the black abolitionist activist Frederick Douglass in Rochester, New York was torn down, defaced, and disposed in a gorge over the past weekend. Interestingly enough, Rochester Police Chief LaRon Singletary declined to speculate on a motive. Yeah, right. And of course, this isn't the first time monuments to abolitionists have been desecrated by BLM mobs. A statue of Hans Christian Heg, a devout abolitionist, was torn down in Madison, Wisconsin. and the statue of Abraham Lincoln in Washington, D.C. What's known as Washington's Emancipation Memorial is slated to be taken down as well. So there's no question that BLM has certainly been busy renovating our urban environments, but only in terms of tearing down, not building anything up. They've also been highly successful in demonizing city police departments and destroying the morale of law enforcement. As a result, we've seen in cities like Atlanta, law enforcement evaporate. Traffic stops are down 80%, while total arrests have plummeted 71%. As a result of that, the Georgia governor, Brian Kemp, has had to declare a state of emergency and call up over 1,000 National Guard troops to put down BLM violence in Atlanta that resulted in the tragic shooting death of an 8-year-old girl just a couple of days back. Absolutely horrifying. In fact, we could actually say that a surge in crime throughout our nation's cities has become the new norm since BLM became mainstream. A total of 16 children, again I reiterate, children, were shot and killed over the course of 48 hours in cities across the country over the Independence Day weekend. In Bill de Blasio's New York City, shootings surged by more than 358% in mid-June when compared to the same time in 2019. That's an almost 400% increase in shootings in New York. But hey, don't worry. De Blasio is making sure you're all safe from churchgoers and synagogue goers. He's got that situation under control. He ain't lifting that ban anytime soon. Similarly, the murder rate in Chicago has increased by 80% over the last month. 80% since BLM activists have pushed for defunding and disbanding police. We could go on and on. But alas, it really does appear that even some of the most devout BLM advocates are beginning to turn against them. In Atlanta, the ultra-left mayor expressed publicly her disillusionment with the movement. Mayor Keisha Lance admitted that black-on-black crime was inflicting far more harm on Atlanta's citizens than any police officer ever has. Well, FBI statistics could have told her that. Citing the 75 shootings that have taken place in Atlanta over just the past few weeks, the mayor admitted this is not something that can be blamed on the Atlanta Police Department. You don't figure. As it turns out, BLM advocates are learning a very harsh lesson on social order. You can't simply be against something. You've got to be for something. And what precisely is BLM movement for? It loves to throw out these terms like social justice and equality, equity, and the like. But what does that all mean? What does it actually look like? Well, we need go no further than the enclaves that have already instituted what BLM activists have demanded. And that's our college campuses and universities, which have been infested with BLM cultural Marxism over the last few days, cultural Marxism over the last few decades. Racial segregation is their answer to what social justice looks like. Racial segregation is now a widespread phenomenon in our universities, such as black-only dorms and graduation ceremonies. In a recent study, 42% of the 173 schools surveyed offered segregated residences. 46% offered racially segregated orientation programs, and 72% offered segregated graduation ceremonies. And now it's starting to make its way out of the universities and into society at large. You may remember a few years back, Tucker Carlson interviewed a professor who actually defended whites being excluded from an all-black Memorial Day celebration for no other reason than because of the color of their skin. Tucker interviewed a black activist by the name of Lisa Durden, who ended up getting fired from her college position as a result of the radical pro-BLM views she expressed on Tucker's show. And, frankly, it's really no wonder why she was fired. It was one of the more bizarre interviews I've seen of late. Look it up for yourself. Check it out. It's a perfect example of the kind of racist brainwashing that this extreme form of cultural Marxism is capable of. Make no mistake, several weeks since its newfound embrace by mainstream America, the Black Lives Matter movement in many ways is unraveling. It's imploding. And that's because when all is said and done, the BLM movement is fundamentally all about destroying and tearing down. They're all about societal destruction. They can pull monuments down, but they have no monuments to put back up and replace them with. They're a fully negative, destructive movement. That's the only thing that all BLM advocates have in common, the destructive element of their movement. The only thing they have in common is that they are supposedly systemically racist system that we have here needs to be dismantled. But replaced with what? Primitive, primeval tribalism? A society resegregated around ethno-nationalist allegiances? A black national anthem? Even leftists are beginning to turn their back on this movement. It certainly had its 15 minutes. It had its moment in the sun. And the longer it did, the more destruction it left in its wake. Now, before you go, you will definitely want to check out my latest video I just uploaded on President Trump launching a massive counteroffensive against the far left that's setting him up for a landslide victory in November. You are not going to want to miss this. So make sure to click on the link, and I will see you over there. God bless.